Have you ever been on the open roads when you see a door open? You're iffy at first, but you see a box. You decide to take a closer look. You don't see anything suspicious. Then something catches your attention, a lit furnace. Maybe they're out and forgot to close their doors, you think to yourself. Instinctually you run towards it, and then it happens. This was an obvious trap. So many telltale signs. But in 2019, can you even build a trap that isn't obvious? So off to the lab I went. This is what I came up with. A more inviting trap base, if you will. The lack of front doors that can close behind you give you a false sense of security as you enter. You can look around, but you won't see anything. Then you see boxes, sulfur, and then... Now this person is obviously laying on the floor by now, but I wanted to show you that even if someone had godly reaction time, there's nowhere to hide. The traps cover everywhere you can go. The star of the show is the ladder hatch here. It blocks them in. The furnaces are there to limit the amount of angles they can approach the sensor from. They are not needed for the build, but I find them to be just a good general addition to the overall idea. Sounds really great, but how do you build it? Well, I'm glad you asked. We're going to start off with this footprint here. The tool cupboard placement is very important. I'll show you why in just a second. Although the final design does not need doors, we can add a temporary airlock so you're safe while building. Then we can close it in. Basically, we're going to use the TC room as a jump-up elevator, so we should use a garage door here. When placing it, make sure the top part sticks out towards you. This also will allow us to place a small box here, which helps with the jump. From up here, we can seal off the first floor. We want to place down floor tiles everywhere, except for above the TC and this open square here. After that, we can go ahead and finish the second floor. To make the final wall slightly easier to place, I'll build a temporary floor tile here. We're going to finish this floor out by adding a ceiling. This area will hold our loot, our circuitry, and our main sleeping bag, so it needs to be secure. We can add a couple of doors to accomplish this. All the soft sides of the door frames should face towards you while building them. This final section adds 2 more doors worth of security to the front entrance. While building it, make sure that this first door swings out. We want the second door to swing the same way. This gives us an airlock, but also a good angle at the front door if it becomes needed. The build cost at this point is 2,604 wood, 9,150 stone, and 1,050 metal fragments. So from the front door, we can come over to the left hand side. We're going to use this twig buildup. This is one of the oldest tricks in the book, and it allows us to add a triangle through our bait loot room to make it look even more juicy. In here, we'll add a couple of wall frames and furnaces. Position the first furnace in the middle square on the foundation and up against the wall. Since the last patch, we will now need to add the door here before we can place the final 2 furnaces. We'll add in our first electrical component. It will be the HPHF sensor. Its placement is kind of important. We want to place it on the left side of this line and about right here. We're going to add a box here to hide the sensor. It doesn't have to be perfectly against the wall, but make sure you leave enough room for a second box up here. We're going to use 3 large boxes on the bottom part here. The first 2 can be orientated like this. When you place the third one, you can try to get it as close to the right as you can, but it's not necessary. You do want to leave enough space for a small box to go here though. This makes traveling through this area a lot faster and a lot smoother. Now we're going to add 1 more large box here. Its placement has to be a bit more precise than the rest. We want it to be as far back on this platform as possible and as close to the box on the right as possible. If it's placed wrong, you can get stuck here, which defeats the whole purpose. If done correctly, it should allow you to run through here pretty much seamlessly. We'll add this door frame, soft side facing you, and this door, which needs to swing this way. This is where the traps will go. We can work on the trap mechanism now since our bait is done, so let's do some electricity. Now, I will be connecting all these pieces inside of the base, but I wanted to give you an image to refer back to if you find yourself needing one. Also, quick note that this wire connects to whatever you're using for a power supply. This can be batteries, windmills, whatever. For purposes of this video, I'll be using a generator here. First, let's remove this box for the time being. Now we can add a door controller here. When you place the ladder hatch, make sure that it opens with the ladder facing the front entrance. We can throw a lock on it too. We'll pair the controller to the hatch by holding E until it closes. If we jump down here, we can also add a lock to this door. We'll come into this room to place our second door controller. It pretty much can be placed anywhere up here. I just like to keep it above where the traps will go. You can lock the door and the ladder hatch now if you would like to. It may be wise to throw locks on these doors as well. Up here will be our control room, our command center. This wire here goes out to your power source, but let's connect this baby. We'll take this switch output and route it like so. Bring it over the door and into the power in of the splitter. This will split the power into 3 and power out switch, timer, and memory cell. We'll take the power out 3 from our splitter into the electric input of the switch. Next we'll take the power out 2 from the splitter and connect it to the electric input of the timer. We'll try to get the wires somewhat neat here. We'll take the power in from the memory cell and connect that to the power out 1 of the splitter. You can start from the splitter as well, the direction doesn't matter. Now we can take the timer's output and connect it to the memory cell's reset. We'll need power to our door and hatch, so we'll grab the memory cell output and wire it up to the splitter's power in. This will split the power once again, and we'll use the first output for our ladder hatch. More specifically, we're going to connect the wire to the door controller that opens the ladder hatch. The more you can hide these wires, the better. At the very least, you don't want them to be obvious. We'll put this into the power in. Now we can grab the power output 2 from the splitter. The second door controller is downstairs. Now we don't want the wire to be seen from downstairs, so we'll have to route it a bit up here first. I feel like the way I do it here is very good. It is important when wiring stuff to make sure you attach the wire to the wall where a component is before you connect it. There are many different surfaces and it's easy to pin them incorrectly. Oh, my favorite part! Remember the heartbeat sensor we added in the beginning? Well, we're going to hook it up. We're going to grab the power in from the sensor and bring it onto this wall. Keep in mind there will be a box here to block most of the wall, so it's perfectly safe to route it like this. Once we get to about this point, we can bring it up to the command center. Remember to pin it on this wall first, or the wire will be on an angle downstairs. Very annoying. Now I know the wiring isn't perfect, but I think going over the door is the best decision here. We'll connect it to the output of the switch. We have our final wire here, which will go from the set function of the memory cell into the power out part of the heartbeat sensor downstairs. I'll try to follow the general routing of the wire that I know already goes to the same place. Remember to pin it here as well. Now you might be thinking that people can see the wires going up here. Now that's true. However, if they are in the base far enough to see them, then they are already trapped. Now let's go back upstairs into our control room and see what these components actually do. First things first, the timer duration is defaulted to 10 seconds. We're going to want to change that to 1. This first switch here is the main power switch. It cuts off every single component in the trap from getting power. If we turn that on, now we have power, but the trap is still off. That's what this switch turns on. Once it's powered up, you can use the timer, which is effectively the trap reset. It will close the ladder hatch and the door downstairs after you have grabbed all the loot. Now we'll add the finishing touches. First thing we'll do is we'll lock this ladder hatch, and then we'll lock this door as well. Now you can leave this garage door, but I think it looks suspicious from the front entrance, so I'm going to take it down. Next we'll place our shotgun traps. If you place them exactly how I am, then there is nowhere for the people to run once they get trapped in. You can use an auto turret here, but I'll just use some shotgun traps since they are way cheaper and easier to get. If you know of a better orientation for these, please let me know in the comments below. It's very important that we put this box back in its place to hide the wires. Remember that when placing this one, we have to be able to run through this gap smoothly. Next we'll lock up the elevator here, and the TC also. There's 3 more doors on the second floor that need to be locked up. We'll start with that one, and then there's 2 more over here. The second floor is where the stuff you collect will go. You can also consider it like the main living space. You can customize this as much as you want, but I do suggest adding a couple of boxes and your sleeping bag up here. This is a good spot for it because it's hidden from all the doors. Quick note, this is a good spot to put your batteries. Our large one fits here quite well. I know it's only a trap base, but the builder inside me must tell you that you may want to consider upgrading some places to sheet metal, like around the TC, foundations, etc. Once you turn the trap on, you can come and remove the front doors. You don't need them anymore. Happy trapping!